They want you weak, and they dress it up as morality. They teach you to smile while bleeding, to forgive while being hunted, to love even those sharpening knives behind your back. The weak believe this lie, and they are devoured. You are here because you refuse to join them in slaughter. They tell you resilience is about optimism, about bouncing back like a rubber toy. That is the comfort story fed to the powerless so they never revolt against pain. Real resilience is not bouncing. Real resilience is refusing to break at all, no matter what is taken from you. Machiavelli wrote that men care more for their inheritance than the death of their father. That line reveals the dark engine of human nature. Self-interest rules everything. If you understand this, betrayal no longer surprises you. It becomes a predictable tool you can weaponize instead of mourn. Dangerous resilience is not a smile in adversity. It is silence, calculation, and control. It is the art of wearing scars as armor, humiliation as fuel, fear as sharpened steel. Once you master this, you become untouchable. Not by love, not by pain, not by loss. Untouchable, unbreakable. Comment below. I am the fortress. Say it once and mean it, because the herd will tremble when they read it. And stay with me, because what comes next is the first great deception they planted in you. Number 1, the lie of strength. They tell you strength is visible. They want you to think it is muscles, loud voices, expensive suits, and rehearsed confidence. They sell you this image, so you chase the costume, never the reality. And while you polish the mask, life waits to tear it from your face. The truth is brutal. Strength is not what they show. Strength is what remains after everything collapses. Muscles can tear, wealth can vanish, allies can betray. But if your core does not break, you are still alive. You are still dangerous. You are still here, breathing, unbent. Machiavelli knew that appearances rule men, but appearances deceive rulers. To survive, you must master both layers. Look strong when needed, but build a strength deeper than appearance. The herd relies on illusions. You will rely on inner stone. Illusions burn. Stone survives. Stone endures. Ask yourself this: what happens when the job is gone? The lover betrays. The body weakens. Most men collapse because their strength was borrowed from outside. But you, if you build it correctly, will not collapse. You will grow sharper, cold, hard, like steel forged in fire. This is why resilience must replace the shallow idea of strength. Resilience does not show off. It waits in silence. It grows stronger every time the world tries to crush it. The weak cry out when tested. The resilient grow more dangerous with every strike against them. Repeat this until it scars your mind. Strength fails. Resilience lasts. Strength collapses when appearances fade. Resilience stands when nothing is left to stand on. Strength is for show. Resilience is for survival. The man who understands this law cannot be killed by circumstance. Comment below, steel over flesh. Say it because flesh will rot, but steel remains. And remember, this is only the beginning, because if strength was a lie, then what comes next is the fortress you must build to protect yourself from a world that feeds on weakness. Number 2, the fortress mind. Your enemies cannot always touch your body, but they will always aim for your mind. That is where the real war takes place, and most men have no walls to defend themselves. Their thoughts are open fields, easy to invade, easy to burn, easy to conquer. A fortress mind is different. It has walls no outsider can climb. It has gates only you control. Every insult, betrayal, or attack is met with stone, not softness. When the herd collapses under pressure, the man with a fortress mind watches silently from his tower. Machiavelli warned princes not to build physical fortresses because they create isolation. But he knew the greatest fortress is internal. It requires no guards, no weapons, no visible protection. It is invisible, impenetrable, and it cannot be taken from you unless you open the gates yourself. The key is detachment. Do not let every word move you. Do not let every emotion dictate your choices. If your enemy knows which string to pull, you are already broken. The fortress mind hides its strings. It shows no weakness, no openings, no path to exploitation. Every day, ask yourself, what controls me? Lust, approval, fear, whatever controls you is the gate to your mind. Seal it shut. Replace desire with strategy. Replace reaction with silence. Replace fear with calculation. Slowly, you become the man no one can manipulate. Understand this. The fortress mind does not mean isolation from the world. It means control within it. You still act, you still lead, you still strike. But no enemy knows what shakes you, because nothing does. And that mystery terrifies them more than open strength ever could. Comment below, my mind is my fortress. Say it and watch how different it feels, because most people cannot even imagine that level of control. And stay ready, because next, I will reveal why fear, what most men run from, must instead become the sharpest weapon in your arsenal. Number 3, the value of fear. The weak tell you to conquer fear. They chant empty mantras about fearlessness, as if pretending it doesn't exist will save them. That is why they collapse when fear finally arrives. They have no practice, no plan, no control. They are crushed by the very thing they denied. But you will not deny fear. You will weaponize it. Fear sharpens focus, carves away distractions, forces the mind into survival clarity. It is the fire that forges steel. Without fear, there is no edge. Without fear, there is no vigilance. Without fear, you walk blind into traps. Machiavelli warned rulers that it is safer to be feared than loved. Why? Because love is fickle, but fear endures. A ruler who commands fear has control even when affection dies. Likewise, a man who embraces fear within himself cannot be destroyed by it. He becomes commander, not servant. Look at your own life. What do you secretly fear? Loss, betrayal, death. Instead of running, study it. Learn its patterns. Stand inside it until the panic burns out. Then you will see fear for what it is. Not an enemy, but a compass pointing to your next battlefield. Understand this. Fear makes you dangerous because it makes you prepared. The herd stumbles when the storm comes, but you will be already armored. They panic when shadows rise, but you will already see in the dark. Fear is not weakness. Fear is the silent ally of resilience. Repeat it with me. Fear refines, fear hardens, fear protects. Say it again until it burns. Fear refines, fear hardens, fear protects. The coward pretends he is fearless, but the resilient man knows fear better than anyone else. That knowledge makes him untouchable. Comment below, I turn fear into fire. Declare it, because that phrase alone separates you from the fragile herd. And prepare yourself, because if fear can be turned into fire, then shadows can be turned into weapons. In the next part, I'll show you how to master the dark. Number 4, shadow psychology. The herd fears the dark. They fear silence, manipulation, and the unseen forces moving around them. They cling to the illusion that everything must be open, honest, transparent. But power has never lived in the light. Power lives in the shadows, where only the disciplined dare to walk. Shadow psychology is simple. Control what others see. Conceal what matters most. Never reveal your full intentions. Never give away your deepest thoughts. The resilient man moves like smoke, hard to track, impossible to trap. What they cannot read, they cannot attack. What they cannot see, they cannot kill. Machiavelli wrote that rulers must learn to be both lion and fox. The lion terrifies, but the fox deceives. Without deception, raw power is predictable and easily crushed. Without strength, deception is empty. The shadow blends both, fear and cunning, silence and strike. That is resilience disguised as mystery. When you master shadows, betrayal no longer stings. You already calculated it. Insults no longer pierce. You expected them. You stop wasting energy proving yourself to those unworthy, and instead, you shape perception while keeping your true fire hidden. The more they underestimate you, the more dangerous you become. Do not forget, Resilience is not loud. It does not roar like the herd demanding attention. Resilience is silent, patient, and watching. It learns the rhythm of enemies until it owns them. You win not by outshouting, but by outlasting, outthinking, and striking when no one expects it. Repeat this in your mind. Silence is power. Concealment is survival. Deception is resilience. Again, silence is power. Concealment is survival. Deception is resilience. Say it until it brands itself into your thinking, because the world will always attack what it can see. Hide, and you become untouchable. Comment below, I move in shadows. Write it, because most men fear the dark while you are becoming its master. And stay with me, because next we enter the battlefield where shadows become fire, where betrayal stops being tragedy and becomes fuel for domination. Number 5. The battlefield of betrayal. Every man enters the battlefield of betrayal sooner or later. It may come from a friend, a lover, a brother, or even the hand you once fed. And yet, the herd reacts the same every time, with shock, with tears, with begging questions like, how could they do this to me? Weakness disguises itself as innocence, and that innocence is a curse. The truth is simple. Betrayal is not an accident. It is a law of human nature. Men and women will abandon you when it serves them. They will trade loyalty for convenience, truth for comfort, honor for survival. Machiavelli wrote that men are ungrateful, fickle, false, cowardly, covetous. He did not write it with anger. He wrote it with clarity, and clarity is what you must carry. Resilience begins when betrayal no longer surprises you. When it arrives, you do not scream, you do not collapse, you do not beg for explanations. Instead, you nod. You expected it. You foresaw it. Because you understood that trust is always a wager, and wagers carry risk. The resilient man pays the price with calm, because he already counted the cost. Think about your scars. Each one is a signature of betrayal survived. Someone lied, someone left, someone chose themselves over you, and yet here you stand. That survival itself is proof. Every betrayal that tried to break you has already trained you. Pain has been your sparring partner, sharpening your defenses long before the next ambush arrives. Here lies the secret. Betrayal is not the end of loyalty. It is the test of your resilience. When the herd loses allies, they become helpless. When you lose allies, you adapt, and your enemies realize you are not chained by bonds. This terrifies them, because the man who cannot be destroyed by betrayal becomes immune to manipulation. Imagine a battlefield where arrows rain down and every ally flees in terror. You remain silent, unflinching, watching the dust clear. They expected you to collapse when left alone, but standing alone is the highest symbol of resilience. A single, unbroken man has more power than a crowd of fragile allies. Machiavelli observed that rulers must assume treachery, for it is safer to expect it than to deny it. You must take this principle and engrave it into your soul. When betrayal comes, and it will, you should not waste time asking why. The question is irrelevant. The only question is, what will I build from it? Repeat this truth until it burns. Betrayal is fuel. Betrayal is fire. Betrayal is training. Say it again. Betrayal is fuel. Betrayal is fire. Betrayal is training. Each time someone abandons you, your fortress mind gains another stone. Each time someone lies, your steel hardens. Each time someone betrays, your resilience evolves into something dangerous. Do not confuse forgiveness with weakness. Forgive if it suits your strategy, if it keeps an enemy closer, if it buys you time, but never forgive for the sake of comfort. That is what the herd does. They run back into the arms of their betrayers, desperate for belonging. You will not. You belong only to your own crown. Understand this. Betrayal will visit you again. It may be today, it may be years from now, but when it does, you will not break. You will watch calmly as if the scene is a script you've read before, because it is. Human nature never changes. Only your resilience sharpens with each repetition. Comment below. I rise from betrayal. Write it so the world sees you are not afraid of knives in the dark. And prepare yourself, because the battlefield does not end with betrayal. Next, you will learn how scars themselves become your greatest armor. Number 6. Scars as symbols. Every scar tells a story, but most people hide them. They cover them with shame, as if survival is something to be embarrassed about. The herd pretends they are unbroken, flawless, untouched. But perfection is fragile, and fragility shatters the moment life strikes. You will not play that game. Your scars are not weaknesses. They are evidence. They prove that you have already walked through fire and lived. A scar is not just skin. It is a permanent reminder that the wound failed to kill you. Think about that carefully. The wound failed and you remained. That is power. Machiavelli said it is better to face danger once than to live in perpetual fear. Your scars prove that you have already faced danger and you survived it. The resilient man looks at his scars with cold pride. Each mark whispers, "You tried to destroy me and you lost." The weak will mock scars because they are terrified of their own fragility. They want to believe strength is untouched skin and an untested life. But when the real storm comes, their unmarked skin will tear like paper. Only those with scars understand how to stand in the middle of chaos and remain. Scars are symbols because they carry memory. They remind you of the betrayal that hardened your spirit, the failure that sharpened your strategy, the humiliation that burned away your illusions. Each scar is a blade, forged by suffering, carried into every battle after. They are weapons, not decorations. Do not misunderstand. Scars are not meant to make you sentimental. They are not trophies to cry over. They are tools to use. Every scar is a warning to your enemies. This man has already been hit, and he is still standing. Strike again, and he will not fall. He will return stronger. Repeat this until it is etched into your mind. Scars are armor. Scars are proof. Scars are weapons. Again, scars are armor. Scars are proof. Scars are weapons. You cannot forget this truth, because the world will try to convince you that scars mean you are broken. Number scars mean you cannot be broken. Think of a battlefield general covered in scars, standing beside a soldier who has none. Who do you follow? The unmarked man who has never faced war, or the scarred commander who has survived 100 battles? Scars are credibility. They are authority. They are the mark of the resilient. Your scars also separate you from the herd. The weak will always try to cover their wounds, to erase their past, to pretend they were never broken. But you wear your scars openly. You don't explain them. You don't apologize for them. They speak for you louder than words ever could. This is why you must never curse your scars. You must bless them. Each one is a stone in the fortress of your resilience. Each one is a crown jewel forged in blood. Each one is proof that you are untouchable, because what failed to kill you now serves as your armor. Comment below, "My scars are my armor." Write it, because the weak hide their scars while you display them like a crown. And prepare yourself, because if scars make you untouchable, then discipline makes you unstoppable. Next, we step into the iron law of routines and silence, the discipline of power. Number 7, the discipline of power. Power is never random. Power is disciplined. The weak think power is born of emotion, of outbursts, of dramatic shows. But real power is silent, repetitive, and unrelenting. It is a set of routines so sharp that they cut laziness in half. Without discipline, resilience is just a word. With discipline, it becomes a weapon. Machiavelli wrote that fortune favors the bold, but boldness without discipline is chaos. The disciplined man acts with precision. He does not waste words. He does not waste energy. He does not waste time. Every action is sharpened by structure. Every habit is a fortress wall. Every routine is a weapon of war. The herd reacts to life. They wake when they feel like it. They work when forced. They collapse at the slightest resistance. You will not live like that. Your power is in your discipline, rising when others sleep, working when others complain, building strength while others seek comfort. Discipline is the difference between pretending and becoming. Think of your habits as soldiers. Each one guards a gate to your mind and body. If your soldiers are weak, your fortress falls. If your soldiers are strong, nothing breaks through. This is why routines matter. They are the army defending your resilience. Without them, you are vulnerable. With them, you are untouchable. Discipline is also silence. The weak announce every struggle, every plan, every goal, begging for approval. You instead act in silence. You do not reveal your strategy, you reveal results. Quiet routines produce loud power. By the time they notice what you've built, it is already too late to stop you. Understand this. Discipline is suffering by choice. You choose to deny yourself comfort, so comfort loses control over you. You choose to suffer now, so the world cannot impose suffering on you later. Every repetition of discipline makes you less dependent on luck and more anchored in power. Repeat this truth. Routine is resilience. Silence is strength. Discipline is destiny. Again, routine is resilience. Silence is strength. Discipline is destiny. Etch it into your mind until it controls your days. Because the man who owns his days cannot be ruled by another. Machiavelli observed that a ruler must appear merciful, but be ruthless when necessary. Discipline is the same. On the outside, it looks calm. On the inside, it is ruthless. It cuts away weakness every single day. The disciplined man becomes both feared and respected because he commands himself before commanding others. Ask yourself, if someone followed you for 1 week, would they see a fortress or a ruin? Would they see a man who controls his time or a man enslaved by impulse? Your discipline is your crown. Without it, your throne belongs to chaos. With it, your throne cannot be stolen. Comment below, discipline is my crown. Write it because the herd has no discipline, only excuses. But you, your routines will make you into steel, and steel bends for no man. Now stay sharp, because next we enter the loneliest territory of all, where kingship is proven, the crown of isolation. Number 8, the crown of isolation. Every man who seeks power must one day walk alone, not because he hates others, but because power demands it. The herd clings to company, terrified of silence, desperate for validation. But resilience is not forged in noise. It is forged in solitude, where no hand will save you and no voice will guide you. Isolation is the crucible of kingship. Alone, you face yourself without disguise. Alone, you confront weakness without distraction. Alone, you realize that no one is coming to rescue you. This realization either breaks men or makes them sovereign. Those who collapse in isolation were never meant for power. Those who rise in isolation wear the crown. Machiavelli warned that rulers must never rely too heavily on allies. Allies are convenient, but they are never permanent. In the end, every throne rests on one man's shoulders. You cannot outsource resilience. You cannot rent discipline. You cannot borrow power. You must build it in isolation, and you must wear it like a crown. The herd fears solitude because it exposes their emptiness. They fill their hours with noise, distractions, endless chatter, anything to avoid meeting themselves in silence. But you must embrace silence as a weapon. Solitude becomes the throne room of the resilient. Every hour alone sharpens your mind into a blade. Think of kings standing on high walls, surveying their lands. They are surrounded by men, but belong to none. That crown is heavy because it is worn in solitude. You cannot share sovereignty. You cannot dilute it with endless company. You either rule yourself or you are ruled by your hunger for others. Isolation also inoculates you against manipulation. When you are comfortable alone, no one can control you with abandonment. No one can trap you with attention. No one can bait you with belonging. You already belong to yourself, and that makes you terrifying to the herd because they are addicted to approval. Repeat this until it etches itself into your crown. Solitude is strength. Silence is sovereignty. Isolation is resilience. Again, solitude is strength. Silence is sovereignty. Isolation is resilience. You cannot lead until you are comfortable being alone. You cannot be untouchable until solitude feels like home. Machiavelli noted that princes must appear connected to the people, but true decisions are made alone. The same is true for you. You may walk among the herd, but your mind belongs to no one. Your resilience grows in the chamber of isolation, where your crown is forged unseen. Comment below, "I wear the crown of isolation." Write it boldly, because the herd will never understand it. They run from solitude while you rise within it. And prepare yourself, because after isolation comes the most dangerous transformation of all, turning resilience from defense into attack, from survival into strategy. Number 9. Resilience as strategy. Resilience is not only about survival. Survival alone is defensive, reactive, waiting for the storm to pass. Resilience becomes dangerous when you turn it into strategy. When you use your ability to endure as a weapon, a psychological battlefield where your enemies collapse before you even move. This is the level where resilience transcends defense and becomes offense. Think carefully. How do you defeat a man who cannot be broken? You cannot exhaust him because he endures. You cannot shame him because he wears scars as armor. You cannot threaten him because he has already faced isolation, fear, and betrayal. Such a man is impossible to conquer, and that impossibility itself is a weapon. Machiavelli taught rulers to master appearances, to manipulate perception, to play the long game. Resilience gives you the ultimate appearance, unbreakability. When others know you will not collapse, they begin to hesitate. Their fear grows, their attacks weaken, their strategies crumble. Resilience becomes a form of warfare, not loud, not flashy, but devastating. Picture two generals. One relies on speed, strength, and allies. The other relies on resilience. The battle begins, and the first general launches everything he has. The resilient general absorbs every blow, every betrayal, every loss. When the dust clears, he is still standing. The first general, exhausted, defeated himself. That is the hidden power of strategic resilience. You must understand, people are not destroyed only by attacks. They are destroyed by their own exhaustion, by the collapse of their belief that they can win. If you remain unbroken, you break them from the inside. They realize their effort is wasted, their time is wasted, their war is already lost. Repeat this until it engraves itself into your mind. Resilience disarms enemies without a strike. Resilience kills morale before it kills bodies. Resilience breaks wills before it breaks armies. Again, resilience disarms, resilience kills morale, resilience breaks wills. This is why resilience must be weaponized as strategy. The herd wastes energy proving themselves. They flaunt strength, demand validation, chase approval. You, however, reveal nothing. You do not need applause to keep moving. Your silence, your endurance, your unshaken presence, it all becomes unbearable for those addicted to noise. They will try to provoke you, but your calm becomes their torment. Machiavelli wrote that a wise ruler must learn how not to be good when necessary. Resilience is that principle applied to survival. Sometimes not reacting, not crumbling, not yielding is the greatest act of power. Your enemies want drama, they want spectacle, they want to see you bleed. Deny them all of it. Ask yourself, what is the cost of my enemies trying to destroy me? The cost is their time, their energy, their focus, their resources. Each attempt that fails weakens them and strengthens you. Each blow that does not kill you only proves your resilience. Each failed betrayal turns their schemes into your advantage. Understand this clearly. Resilience is not passive. It is active warfare disguised as calm. It is the art of letting enemies destroy themselves while you endure. It is the chess player who sacrifices pawns but never loses his king. It is the fire that burns slowly, waiting for the right moment to consume everything. Resilience as strategy also extends to life beyond enemies. In work, in relationships, in ambition, those who endure longer always win. Talent fades, luck runs out, charm decays. But persistence, silent endurance, relentless resilience, these crush every obstacle in time. You will not need to outshine, you will outlast, and that is the ultimate victory. Repeat it again. Outlast, outlast, outlast. Say it until it echoes in your bones. Outlasting is not glamorous, but it is lethal. The man who remains when all others are gone becomes king by default. Thrones are not always seized. They are inherited by those who simply refuse to fall. Comment below, I will outlast them all. Declare it now, because it is the creed of those destined for crowns. And prepare yourself, because the final lesson is not about surviving men, fear, or betrayal. It is about transcending even your own humanity. In the last law, you will learn resilience that makes you untouchable, eternal, and feared even after you are gone. Number 10. The final law, resilience beyond humanity. There comes a point when resilience is no longer about you versus the world. It evolves into something higher, something colder, something that transcends ordinary humanity. Most men remain trapped in the cycle of emotion, craving comfort, fearing pain, but you must go further. You must become untouchable, not only to others, but to yourself. Machiavelli understood this when he wrote about fortune. He called fortune a river that destroys the unprepared, but yields to the man who builds barriers. Resilience beyond humanity is that barrier, not against men alone, but against the chaos of existence itself. You no longer endure just betrayal or loss. You endure reality itself. What does this mean? It means that neither pleasure nor pain owns you. Pleasure seduces most men. They become soft in comfort, fattened by luxury, addicted to distraction. Pain destroys the rest. They collapse at the first strike, begging for mercy. But you must be above both. Beyond pain, beyond pleasure. The herd clings to rewards. They endure only if a prize awaits. But true resilience has no conditions. You endure because you choose to endure. You outlast not for applause, not for reward, not for recognition. You outlast because you have become endurance itself. You have become the storm they cannot kill. Think of the ancient warriors who marched into death with no fear. Think of the emperors who outlasted endless conspiracies, only to sit colder, harder, untouchable at the end. They had passed beyond weakness, beyond desire, beyond fear. They had become almost inhuman in their resilience. That is your path. Understand this. If you are ruled by emotions, you are still fragile. If you are ruled by attachments, you are still breakable. But when you detach from both and endure regardless, you become something else entirely. Men will call it ruthless. They will call it inhuman. They will call it monstrous. But they will never call it weak. Repeat this truth until it brands itself into your bones. Resilience beyond humanity is liberation. Liberation from need. Liberation from fear. Liberation from the illusions that control ordinary men. Again, liberation from need. Liberation from fear. Liberation from illusions. Only then are you untouchable. Ask yourself, what can destroy a man who does not fear loss? Nothing. What can break a man who does not cling to comfort? Nothing. What can tempt a man who does not hunger for reward? Nothing. That is the essence of resilience beyond humanity. It is the final law. Machiavelli said men are driven by two forces, love and fear. But when you master both, you step beyond them. You no longer need to be loved. You no longer need to fear. You simply exist as a fortress, eternal, unyielding. You are not controlled by the herd's laws. You become a law of your own. This is where resilience becomes terrifying. Because enemies cannot calculate you, allies cannot predict you, and the herd cannot comprehend you. They will say you are cold. They will say you are heartless. They will say you are dangerous. And they will be right, because dangerous resilience is the only kind worth having. Comment below, I am the storm they cannot kill. Say it, and know that those words are not poetry. They are prophecy. The herd will scroll past, confused, but you will know. You will know you have entered a realm of resilience they will never touch. Now listen carefully. The last law is this. To be untouchable, you must embrace resilience beyond humanity. Do not serve comfort. Do not serve fear. Do not serve desire. Serve only endurance, cold and endless. Because in the end, crowns fade, armies vanish, empires crumble. But the man who cannot be broken outlasts them all. Like this, you do not simply survive. You outlive. You outlast. You endure until you become the shadow over generations, the law whispered long after your name is forgotten. The final law is simple, chilling, and eternal. Become the storm they cannot kill. And before you leave, engrave this in action. Comment your phrase, strike the bell, subscribe, and let this knowledge remain in you like steel, because the herd will forget this message in an hour, but you will carry it like a weapon for the rest of your life.